Yesterday, you may have been someone who said, oh, I'll just put this lovely little poster, this picture of me lunch onto Facebook, and Facebook went, and you went, oh, well, not to worry, I'll use the Instagram, and that went, Oh, well, maybe I'll just WhatsApp it to me friend, and the whole lot had gone down. What was going on? Matt Porter, our tech guru, on the show with us. Matt, good morning to you.
Good morning.
This has been cited as the biggest failure in the history of Facebook. What on earth happened, Matt?
Well, at the moment, it's unclear what's actually happened, but what can happen in these kind of systems. I mean, Facebook is as a system is a vast network or cluster of computers all running their software. And what could happen, for instance, is that one of those clusters or one of the computers in that clusters developed a software fault and was wrongly redistributed across the network, and thus the fault spread to other computers. Or it could have been what's called a DNS issue, which is quite common, where the computers are incorrectly being told, or where we're being incorrectly told where our content is, and it gets pointed off into the wrong place. And again, that information can be distributed across networks and sort of spread. And that's why we saw it in different countries and different places, because these vast clusters of computers are in different geographical locations around the world. So
there
might have been caused in Europe, and then brings the whole of Europe down.
There were rumours early doors yesterday that there was some kind of attack. That's been ruled out, though, hasn't it?
Distributed denial of service attack, or a DDoS attack. That's right. These are very common. These happen all the time. Whilst we're sitting there using our computers, websites are being absolutely hammered all the time by attacks. Systems or services such as Facebook, Google, or Amazon, or other very large systems, Microsoft, they will be very well defended against those kinds of attacks. So it would have to be an absolutely enormous attack for there to be any kind of effect on those services. It seemed to be more related to services failing or software being updated and then causing a problem, potentially.
Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp all affected, and people began to say, well, look, this is what happens when everything is owned by one company. I mean, that must now be a concern, mustn't it?
Well, look, I was always told from the very start of being interested in the internet 25 years ago, or whatever it was, 20 years ago, when it was all getting going, that because it was built on this military network, because it all came from Milnet, which was the US nuclear silo network. So the idea was, in the event of a nuclear war, they could still communicate with each other using this internet technology. So it is a bit worrying that it's kind of being proven wrong, and quite often that it's not necessarily the network that's failing, but it's the supporting infrastructure sitting on top, which seems to have problems. But yeah, it's a concern, I guess, especially when you've got companies buying up other services, sitting them on their services, and then there's a big failure like this. 20 or
30 years celebration of the World Wide Web. This week alone, we were talking on this very program about artificial intelligence and the future and the Internet of Things. This is just a subtle reminder, Matt, isn't it, that my goodness me, we don't really want to be over-dependent on this stuff, do we?
Well, we have become completely dependent on it, and it shocks me sometimes that you have banking systems that are running on top of a network which is effectively publicly open. That surely that there should be a closed network for those kind of things. It does worry me. The artificial intelligence side of things, we're marching ahead quite rapidly on this, and there was a situation, I think, about a year ago where Facebook was trialling artificial intelligence, and they had two chatbots which were both had AI systems running. They started communicating with each other in their own language that they devised between the two of them, and they sort of shut it down and things like that. There was another rogue one with Microsoft that started being particularly racist and things like that. So,
wow.
We have to be very careful. Well, I mean, with the one at Microsoft, it was a Twitter bot that was running, and lots of these computer nerds realised that if they fed this bot particular information or particular phrases, that it eventually started spitting out quite unpleasant things. So,
Wow.
we have got a situation where we are incredibly reliant on these things. It's not a life or death situation on these things, really.
No, certainly not with social media. It's not.
No.
It's just somewhat annoying to some that they can't post pictures of certain things.
Funnily enough, someone like me who's a massive fan of technology and stuff like that.
Yeah.
About 10 o'clock last night, someone said, "Oh, Facebook's down." I hadn't even noticed.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that shows you. A lot of people have been in touch. Oh, was it? I hadn't noticed. Because it's social media, we can live without it. But Matt, what if it was something more important? What if it was defence or health related, and a network like that fails so dramatically? I mean, we're going to be in all sorts of trouble, aren't we?
We are, and there are. If you go and look at government websites relating to the supply of our electrical network and the national grid and all of those things, it says quite clearly on them that the national grid is expecting a sustained attack imminently, which could have effects on the services that they provide. It has happened in other countries, so there is that concern out there, and it's all about trying to keep one step ahead of these kind of attacks, and they come from organised crime. They come from countries. They are state sponsored, and I can tell you absolutely certainly they are, because I host websites and I see where the traffic's coming from, and the attacks on my services happen. So
wow.
Yeah, it's a cyber warfare.
So your company has suffered attacks?
Yeah. I had a situation 2 years ago where I contacted the digital crimes or the cyber crimes unit of Norfolk and Suffolk Police, and they were very, very helpful. And we did actually manage to track down one perpetrator who was in Bedfordshire, I think. We found them, and we managed to get their address. I didn't. The police managed to get their physical address from the telecom provider. They didn't end up paying them a visit because it appeared that they were a victim of a hack themselves and were being used as a kind of jump point to attack my services. So, these things do happen, and I spent an awful lot of time myself trying to work out where this was coming from, but it's very difficult. The police did say to me that every single country in the world had tried to attack my services at that time, apart from Antarctica. So, there you go.
Unbelievable, yeah. Well, like you, I'm a huge tech fan, as we both are, I know that, but I think we're of the same ilk here. We can't go nuts with it. We can't just say, all right, well, we'll throw out all the pens, all the paper, we'll throw everything out that doesn't, involve the internet, because yesterday does prove that it's not infallible.
No, it isn't. You get Netflix and Amazon and all of those other services which develop issues which we can't do anything about, and it happens, and we just have to accept that it's part of having those kind of services that they do go down. How many times do you see messages on the social network where people saying, "Oh, is BT working in your area? Is Virgin Media working in your area?" These things are having issues with them all the time, and we just have to cope with them, I guess.
Matt Porter, our tech guru, on the subject of the whole Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp shenanigans of yesterday. Matt, great to speak to you as always. Thank you, my friend.
You too. Cheers. Bye.